I don't know how long I've been lost in these woods. Days have blurred into nights, and I've forgotten what warmth feels like. All I know is the biting cold, the crackling snow underfoot, and that thing following me. I'd always been an outdoor guy, loved the wilderness, the solitude. That's why I came out here. A solo trip in the northern forests of Canada, far from anyone or anything. It was supposed to clear my mind. But now the silence feels suffocating, and the trees seem to watch me with malevolent intent. It all started so innocently. The first few days went as planned, setting up camp, hiking during the day, cooking under the stars. But it was on the third night when the woods changed. That's when I first heard it. At first, it was just a soft rustling in the distance. I brushed it off as a deer or maybe the wind, but that sound, like a breathy whisper, kept getting closer, circling my camp. Then the howls started. Not wolves. No, I know what wolves sound like. This was something else. A long, mournful wail that rose and fell, echoing through the trees, shaking me to my core. I told myself it was just my imagination, that I was scaring myself. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. The following morning, I found footprints. Not animal tracks, but something human-like, though far larger and deeper than any boot print I'd ever seen. They circled my camp, and I could feel the dread clawing at my throat. But I kept going. That's what I do. Push forward, push the fear away. I packed up and moved on. It was that night when I first saw it. I'd built my fire bigger than usual, trying to keep warm and calm myself. The cold had become unbearable, unnatural, like it was seeping into my bones. I huddled by the flames, trying to convince myself that everything was fine. But then I heard it again, that slow, deliberate crunch of snow. Closer this time. I froze, my body tensing as the sound moved behind me. I turned slowly, the fire casting flickering shadows against the trees. That's when I saw it, just beyond the light of the fire, standing among the trees. A figure, tall and gaunt, almost skeletal. Its skin was stretched tight over its bones, gray and sickly, and its eyes, God, its eyes were hollow, black pits, yet they seemed to see me, bore into me. The thing had antlers, twisted and gnarled, protruding from its skull. I didn't believe the stories, the old legends, but now I knew what it was, the Wendigo. I scrambled back, my breath coming in short, panicked gasps. The creature tilted its head as if curious, and then I heard it, the whispering. Not from its mouth, but from all around me, from the trees, the snow, the wind. Words I couldn't understand, a language older than time itself, filling my head. It stepped closer, its thin legs moving unnaturally fast despite their lanky appearance. I grabbed my knife, the only weapon I had, and held it out in front of me, though I knew it wouldn't do much good. The Wendigo stopped just at the edge of the fire's light, its black eyes fixed on mine. Its mouth opened, and from within that ragged hole came the faintest sound, a voice, my voice. "Help me," it said, mimicking my own plea. I stumbled backward, my mind racing. That's when it lunged. I don't know how I escaped. Maybe the fire spooked it. Maybe it was just toying with me. But I ran. I ran through the trees, the branches clawing at me, the cold air burning my lungs. I didn't stop until I collapsed in the snow, miles from where I'd started. I had no idea where I was. The night had swallowed everything, and the forest had become a twisted maze. I haven't slept since then. Every time I close my eyes, I hear it, see its gaunt form lurking just beyond the tree line, waiting. The hunger in its eyes haunts me. I'm not alone in these woods anymore, but I can feel it. The cold gnawing at me, a hunger deep in my gut. I don't know how long I can last. The whispers are louder now, and the Wendigo is getting closer each time I stop to rest. It's always watching, always waiting. I don't know how much longer I can resist, or if I want to.
Are you lonely? Are you surrounded by nature? Nothing but trees as far as you can see. Good. Then you're the perfect prey. People are big and slow and easy to find. By the time you even decide to run, it will be too late. Because everything in the woods that would want to devour you is faster than you and infinitely quieter. The good news is your life will be over before you even know what's happening. Good luck. You'll need it when you're alone in the woods. I was a young teenage boy living with my dad in a small rural town of about 2,400 people. We had recently moved because my dad found a better paying job here. It was a quiet little town with not much to do, but the work was good, so we stuck to it. I went to a nearby school there about 2 miles away from my home and would have to walk there every day. My dad usually woke up very early and would be out of the house before I woke up. It wasn't a big deal though, and I quickly got used to walking the 2-lane roads alone. There was this one particular shortcut that I would go through though, where I could save about 15 minutes along my route. It was one of those gravel pathways that connected the 2 main roads together, and it was usually empty, which meant I'd have to go alone for a few minutes as I walked through it. There were significant gaps between the houses, being a heavily wooded area, so my dad said to always take the main road. But I always wanted to get home earlier, so I took it. Along the pathway, there was a run-down, abandoned-looking house, which had definitely not been taken care of. Its windows were dusty, and there was old garbage strewn about all over the place. Everything about it made my fear senses perk up. When I walked past it, I would sing out loud to myself, trying to banish my fearful feelings. I knew it was useless though, but it made me feel better. One day I was walking home from school, and it started to get pretty cloudy outside. A strong thunderstorm was growing, and heavy clouds were making it darker than usual. I wanted to get home as fast as possible because I didn't want to get soaked, but to do that, I would have to take the gravel shortcut. The road was already pretty dark, considering the cloud coverage combined with the trees' shade. If it was this dark on the main road, it would definitely be much darker on that pathway. But I didn't think of that then. I weighed my options, took a moment, but I bravely made the decision to take the shortcut, just so I could get home quicker. After all, I'd done it so many times before, so I thought I'd just run through it and be done with it. It began to rain heavily, and the thunderous roars grew louder. I lowered my head and began to walk faster. I eventually got to the pathway and looked into it. To my utter dismay, it was pretty spooky. I stared for a moment at the pathway, weighing my options again. I didn't really want to turn around though, and go back the long way, only to get more soaked, and by now my house was literally so close. I knew the pathway pretty much by heart and didn't really need that much light to get through it, so I decided to keep going. I began going with a quick stride instead of a walk now. It got darker fast the further that I went in. My whole body was telling me to turn around and to go the long way, but I was already halfway through it. I quickly picked up the pace and went on. Soon I was 3/4 through the way and was about to pass that old rusty house. I was running pretty fast at this point and freaking out too, as I was all alone in this dark, wooded place, with the ominous sounds of rumbling thunder all around me. I passed the house and decided to take a quick glance at it. I looked at one of the windows and my heart suddenly stopped. This clearly noticeable silhouette with dimly lit red eyes was just staring at me. I felt a cold chill engulfing my body, like it was touching my insides. I must have had an overload of adrenaline at this point, because I suddenly got this jolt of energy and was out of there before I knew it. I I got home in a daze, not sure if I had imagined that red-eyed thing or not, and my whole body was aching and felt weak. Being at least an hour before my dad would get home, I went to my neighbor's house and told them what I saw. They were quite skeptical, but they comforted me and were very understanding. When my dad heard about my story, he was kind of mad at first, as I did not take the main road home as he told me to. But he got over it. We went back there together sometime afterward in order to check out who lived there to see what that old creepy place was all about. Turns out that a 90-something-year-old couple was living there, but the wife had recently passed away and the man was bedridden for a while. So, who did I saw in the window? Or what did I saw? I still don't know to this day. But I never dared step foot on that road alone after that, nor will I ever take that route again.
I've always been the paranoid type. If I hear a noise in the dark, I'd jump to the conclusion that there was something there that was here to hurt me. But what I experienced in June 2017 will never leave my memory. I've never done drugs or had any type of alcohol and continue to keep it that way. But me, my two brothers, and my parents all decided to move away from our old town after my uncle had just died, to start fresh. We had found a nice 5-bedroom house that would fit all of us. It was surrounded by woods and was always quiet. The nearest neighbor was about 90 meters away. The second week of us moving, me and my bigger brother Brandon decided to go to a creek that we had found the first day of us moving in. We followed the path that we had made from prior visits into these woods and reached the creek. It was a nice little creek. Occasionally, you could see some fish swim by, but not today. The creek didn't seem right. It was quiet. No birds chirping, nothing. Just the sound of the water calmly flowing. I could tell my brother was getting as scared as I was, so I suggested we leave. But him being the big brother who was never scared, he said that we should stay a while, but I'm pretty sure he didn't really want to. It had only been a couple of minutes when we started to smell something so awful I can't even imagine what it could be. Rotten meat that had been left out in the heat and sprayed by a skunk. We started to get creeped out and finally decided to leave. As we started to head down the trail, my brother stopped to pee. He had walked no more than 10 meters behind a bush to take care of his business when I heard a scratching sound behind me. I turned to see what was making this strange noise and was met with the most terrifying thing I have ever seen. A tall, almost 10-foot figure stood between me and a tree about 5 meters away, poking half of its body from the tree looking at me. It had pale white skin, dog-like ears, and patches of fur scattered all over its body. The thing that scared me the most, it was whispering my name. Justin. It kept repeating my name. I screamed louder than I've ever screamed, but my brother ran to my side, and when he seen this thing, he just grabbed my arm and started running with me. We didn't look back. We slammed open the door to our house, screaming and babbling. Our parents rushed over to us and asked what was wrong. I was trying to explain it, what had just happened, but I couldn't. My brother was just quiet and was staring out of the living room window. My parents checked what he was looking at and could finally figure out what happened. And instead of grabbing the shotgun we had next to the fireplace, my dad said to run to the car, and we left as fast as we could. Since that encounter, we have called the police, and they didn't even seem like they thought we were crazy. They actually believed us and did a scan of those woods, but nothing was uncovered. We never moved out of that house, and I've never touched a tree belonging to those woods since. I made friends in my new location a few months later, and told them this story, they didn't seem to have a clue about what it was until I asked my friend Adam, and he said one word:
Skinwalker.